Welcome to the ultimate UFC quiz. Get ready to test your knowledge of the latest UFC events and champions. Let's dive into the octagon of trivia. Question 1. Who won the UFC Featherweight Championship at UFC 290? Was it Alexander Volkanovski, Max Holloway, Yair Rodriguez, or Brian Ortega? The correct answer is Alexander Volkanovski. Question 2. Which fighter won the UFC 291 BMF title in 2023? Was it Jorge Masvidal, Dustin Poirier, Justin Gaethje, or Nate Diaz? The correct answer is Justin Gaethje. Question 3. Which UFC event in 2023 had the highest attendance? Was it UFC 287, UFC 290, UFC 292, or UFC 291? The correct answer is UFC 291. Question 4. Who defended their UFC middleweight title at UFC 287? Was it Israel Adesanya, Alex Pereira, Robert Whittaker, or Jared Cannonier? The correct answer is Israel Adesanya. Question 5. Which fighter won the women's flyweight title at UFC 285? Was it Valentina Shevchenko, Alexa Grasso, Zhang Weili, or Rose Namajunas? The correct answer is Alexa Grasso. Question 6. At which event did Sean O'Malley win the UFC Bantamweight Championship? Was it UFC 289, UFC 292, UFC 284, or UFC 291? The correct answer is UFC 292. Question 7. Which fighter won the co-main event at UFC 290? Was it Robert Whittaker, Dricus du Plessis, Brandon Moreno, or Alexandre Pantoja? The correct answer is Alexandre Pantoja. Question 8. Who did John Jones defeat to become the UFC heavyweight champion at UFC 285? Was it Stipe Miocic, Cyril Gane, Francis Ngannou, or Derek Lewis? The correct answer is Cyril Gane. Question 9. Which fighter announced their retirement after UFC 290? Was it Jorge Masvidal, Stephen Thompson, Robbie Lawler, or Nate Diaz? The correct answer is Robbie Lawler. Question 10. Who won the UFC Women's Strawweight title at UFC 281 in late 2022? Was it Rose Namajunas, Carla Esparza, Zhang Weili, or Joanna Jędrzejczyk? The correct answer is Zhang Weili. Question 11. Which fight was awarded Fight of the Night at UFC 286? Was it Justin Gaethje vs Rafael Fiziev, Leon Edwards vs Kamaru Usman, Colby Covington vs Gilbert Burns, or Conor McGregor vs Michael Chandler? The correct answer is Justin Gaethje vs Rafael Fiziev. Question 12. At which event did Amanda Nunes defend her bantamweight title before announcing her retirement? Was it UFC 289, UFC 290, UFC 288, or UFC 287? The correct answer is UFC 289. Question 13. Which fighter won Performance of the Night for their knockout at UFC 292? Was it Ian Gary, Chris Weidman, Pedro Munhoz, or Pedro Munhoz? The correct answer is Sean O'Malley. Question 14. Which fighter defeated Tony Ferguson at UFC 291? Was it Nate Diaz, Michael Chandler, Tony Ferguson, or Charles Oliveira? The correct answer is Bobby Green. Question 15. Which fighter won the UFC interim featherweight title at UFC 284? Was it Max Holloway, Brian Ortega, Calvin Kattar, or Yair Rodriguez? The correct answer is Yair Rodriguez.
Question 16.
Who won the UFC Flyweight Championship at UFC 290? Was it Brandon Moreno, Alexandre Pantoja, Dyson Figueiredo, or Askar Askarov? The correct answer is Alexandre Pantoja. Question 17. Which fighter returned to the octagon after a 2-year hiatus at UFC 287? Was it Jorge Masvidal, Conor McGregor, Nick Diaz, or Kelvin Gastelum? The correct answer is Kelvin Gastelum. Question 18. Which fighter claimed the UFC light heavyweight title at UFC 283? Was it Jan Blachowicz, Jiri Prochazka, Jamahal Hill, or Glover Teixeira? The correct answer is Jamahal Hill. Question 19. Who headlined UFC 284 alongside Islam Makhachev? Was it Dustin Poirier, Charles Oliveira, Alexander Volkanovski, or Michael Chandler? The correct answer is Alexander Volkanovski. Question 20. Which event marked Conor McGregor's expected return in 2024? Was it UFC 296, UFC 295, UFC 294, or UFC 293? The correct answer is UFC 296. Question 21. Who won the UFC Women's Flyweight title at UFC 285? Was it Valentina Shevchenko, Alexa Grasso, Jessica Andrade, or Tyler Santos? The correct answer is Alexa Grasso. Question 22. Which fighter won the UFC Welterweight Championship at UFC 286? Was it Kamaru Usman, Leon Edwards, Colby Covington, or Gilbert Burns? The correct answer is Leon Edwards. Question 23. Which fighter won the co-main event at UFC 289? Was it Beneil Dariush, Jorge Masvidal, Kevin Holland, or Kevin Holland? The correct answer is Charles Oliveira. Question 24. Who won the UFC Women's Bantamweight title after Amanda Nunes' retirement? Was it Holly Holm, Raquel Pennington, Amanda Lemos, or Juliana Pena? The correct answer is Juliana Pena.
Question 25. Which fighter won Fight of the Night at UFC 292? Was it Sean O'Malley vs Aljamain Sterling, Zhang Weili vs Amanda Lemos, Chris Weidman vs Brad Tavares, or Pedro Munhoz vs Marlon Vera?
The correct answer is Zhang Weili vs Amanda Lemos. Thanks for playing. How did you do? Stay tuned for more UFC trivia challenges, and keep fighting for that Knowledge Championship belt.